military for ensuring that our armed services remain the best in the world. I am leading this fight because I believe strongly that Don't Ask, Don't Tell is a threat to the men and women in our armed services and a threat to our national security. We can no longer afford to handicap our efforts because of ignorance or hatred. The armed forces are experiencing shortfalls in mission-critical personnel, especially in the midst of fighting ongoing wars, and is losing highly qualified personnel under this corrosive policy. And just for those who don't follow this in detail, since the beginning of this policy, we have lost 13,000 personnel. We have lost more than 800 in mission-critical areas, which means we cannot easily replace them. We've lost more than 10% of our foreign language speakers, particularly languages like Farsi and Arabic, which we are desperate for those skills in fighting terrorism on every front. This policy has not only corroded our military, it's also cost us an enormous amount. It's been $300 million in recruitment and replacement costs alone. This policy not only harms our military readiness, but it undermines our national security. And from my first meeting with Lieutenant Dan Choi, when he told me about the lies that he was forced to endure to serve his country, I understood that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was not just about end strength and readiness, but it is about our nation's integrity. I recently launched a website on my Senate site for service members to post their personal stories, how this policy has impacted their lives, how it changed their decision about whether they could serve anymore. And some of the testimonies are so inspiring and break your heart. But one testimony in particular was from Sergeant Johnson. And he said, honesty and integrity are everything in the Army. I felt that if I was lying, I didn't have it. I wasn't serving with integrity. I felt trapped. Lying is not the way of the Army. I felt I was violating regulation. He said, as long as Don't Ask, Don't Tell exists, there's a hole in the integrity of the entire military. Now, if you watched those hearings last week, you would have cried, because we never expected to get the testimony that we actually got. Admiral Mullen said, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the leader amongst many in the military services, he said, no matter how I look at this issue, I cannot escape being troubled by the fact that we have in place a policy which forces young men and women to lie about who they are in order to defend their fellow citizens. For me personally, it comes down to integrity. Theirs as individuals, and ours as an institution. Now, the hearing this week was a very important first step, but we have a lot of work to do. And we will lift this dangerous, discriminatory, and damaging policy out of our government. I plan to introduce an amendment to the budget that will bar the use of funds for the enforcement of this policy. is just one of the important fights that are still ahead of us. We have to work to repeal DOMA. We have to pass the Employee Non-Discrimination Act with gender protections. Now, what is LGBT without the T? We have